Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the March 16th meeting of the Public Art Commission for the City of Palo Alto. We're going to start today with roll call. Commissioner Miyagi.
Here, present.
Commissioner Shen.
Present.
Commissioner Gordon.
Present.
Vice Chair Lisa.
Present.
And Chair Taylor. Vice Chair Waltuck, I apologize. Okay, great. Next, we have any agenda changes or deletion. Oh, no, sorry. Looking at the wrong thing. Call to order, roll call, agenda changes, additions and deletions. I was in the right place.
So there was a request from Commissioner Miyagi to move item 1 to the last item on the agenda. So that's for your consideration.
Okay. I move to do that. Do we need to move now or a second or anything?
Are the commissioners in general all okay with that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so it'll be noted that item 1, the election of chair and vice chair, will move to the last item on the agenda this evening.
Great. Any public comments? Okay, approval of minutes from February 16th.
I move to approve the minutes.
And I'll second that. And roll call, Commissioner Shen,
Yes.
Commissioner Miyagi,
Yes,
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Waltuck,
Yes.
and Chair Taylor, yes. Okay, city official comments.
Wonderful, thank you. And I do just want to note for the record that Commissioner Miyagi is joining remotely under AB 449 Just Cause. You all were notified of that a couple of days ago as soon as he learned. So with that, I think we have a couple of visuals for our staff comments. So we held a Meet the Artist community meeting for Bulware Park with Urban Rock Design. So Janine Centauri and Russell Rock gave a brief presentation about their previous work and then had a series of questions for the community about what's special about the Ventura neighborhood, what's special about the park, what do people do there. So for anyone who is unable to attend, it is that Vimeo link at the bottom of this slide is available on our public art page. And so anyone who wishes to view the presentation and send feedback in writing may email the public art staff, any one of us, and we will send it to the artists. It would be best if you could supply that by April 1st so that we know that they've received all the comments from the public and then they can begin their design. And next we have a little bit of eye candy from what took place yesterday just outside our public art offices. No, it's not a tree down. So we had Nathan Oliveira's Universal Woman received her treatment. Every once in a while she needs a little bit of a cleaning and a wax treatment. And so conservators were on site yesterday. Looking for the slide, but there was a pretty dramatic before and after. We'll see. Sometimes it's a little pokey when we're in a meeting, so bear with us.
While we're waiting, can I just ask, since you mentioned the storm, were any of the sculptures or damaged or touched?
No, not that we're aware of.
Great.
Okay, sometimes it takes a while. Well, especially when we're streaming meetings, sometimes it can be a challenge. But she looks much better. You can really see in the before and after. And it was kind of exciting. They had a bit of a torch on her, really getting the wax into the all the little nooks and crannies and really making sure they got her cleaned up. So all of the areas where you saw a little bit of green or a little blanching are just she's like new.
When was the last time they did it? Yeah.
So the last time she was treated was 3 years ago.
Should this be every 3 years?
Just about every 3 years. We keep a maintenance calendar so that we spread things out. So we don't have a year where we have, here we go. But we know the approximate cycles that everything needs to be treated in. So you can see the before on the left, especially you look on the base plate around her feet. But you can see in the coloration now she's all shiny and new. Yeah. So you can really tell what's been done, and it really helps protect her and helps her look her best. Wow, look at that. Mm-hmm.
How long in terms of hours or days did it take to clean her up?
They were on site most of the day yesterday. So that's it. So that is it for staff comments.
Thank you. Okay, action items. So we'll start with Fire Station 4.
Thank you. So Fire Station 4. We're really excited to bring this item to you today. Fire Station 4 located at 3600 Middlefield Road. The commission approved funds in the amount of 110,000 inclusive of the 10% contingency, October 20th, 2022 for the project. So in that time, we have been working with the design team in sort of tracking the evolution of the design of the building, identifying more opportunities for an artist to engage, and we held a really great selection panel. So we have a presentation. Okay, which is going to take a little bit longer, but perhaps we do this verbally. You may recall that the fire station, which is on a very busy corner of Meadow and Middlefield Road, there is a large tree on the corner. And so primarily we're looking at artists from our pre-qualified pool that can do something that would be architecturally integrated into the building. So we went to the pre-qualified pool, we identified 31 artists that we contacted with the budget and the timeline to identify their availability and interest in the project. We had a great selection panel. So we had Stephen Lindsay, who's the Deputy Chief of Palo Alto Fire Department, Julia Lee, who's a media arts teacher at JLS Middle School, which is just right there, Sang Ah Choi, who is an artist with the Coverly Artist Studio program. Commissioner Waltuck was on that panel, and Charlotta Hawksdaughter, who is an artist from that area, but also happens to be a Coverly artist. Valerie Tam, who is the project engineer from the Department of Public Works, and Megan Zhang, who is the representative from the architectural firm. So they evaluated 20 artists and quickly coalesced around a pretty tight-knit group and selected Stephen Galloway for the commission. So Stephen, and when we're able to get the visuals up, I can show you some of his previous work. But what really resonated with the panel was recognizing that this fire station is on the corner of Mitchell Park, and that Stephen's work primarily integrates natural themes, organic forms, trees, but in a variety of materials. So he has experience working in glass, metals, using photography, so very experimental, and there are several ways that it could be integrated with the building. So we're still having some challenges, but I guess at this point, I would invite Commissioner or Vice Chair Waltuck if you had any thoughts or wanted to share your experience on that panel.
I really enjoyed the experience. It was a great variety of people and opinions, and people went through everything beforehand and were very articulate in explaining and convincing each other to either drop something or bring it back. So there were great artists, and I really liked this one, and the top two I thought were just outstanding. So I think it's gonna be a great project.
So just to catch you up on process, if the commission approves Stephen Galloway as the project artist this evening, we will put the contract together. The contract will need to go to council for approval, because any of those contracts above 80,000 need to go to council. So that will probably be a month from now, because it takes a while to get through that queue. Once he is approved by council, then he can join the design team. So then in earnest, he can really begin to work with it to figure out what opportunities make the most sense, whether we're looking at some sort of glass treatment or metal, or a combination of 2 or 3 different materials and locations with the building. One of the things that was interesting to note is the building itself. If you know that section of Middlefield, it's a lot of Eichlers, a lot of mid-century modern buildings in that area. And the fire station itself, the architecture definitely has a nod toward that. So it seems to be very in keeping with the neighborhood. But one of the pieces of feedback that the Architectural Review Board gave was that they wanted to make sure that does stand out as something different, that it's not just a larger home, that it is a fire station on the corner. So we're really looking to the public art to have some of that pop and really make it stand out a little bit more. If it's the network or if it's my laptop, I don't know. So yeah, so this gives you just a view kind of from the corner. So as you look to the left, that's the Little League field is that direction, and Mitchell Park Library is to the left. And then the right is JLS and that other entrance to Mitchell Park. There's a church adjacent behind there. But there's several opportunities for art integration here. So if you look just to the right of the rig, that pillar area is definitely an area where artwork could go into the building and draw people to the public entrance, which is hidden behind the tree, but just to the right of that wall. There is also an opportunity with all of the glass work and that facade to have something that could be colored glass, although the fire department may not wish to have sort of a cathedral experience inside, but there are ways to do it sort of as a light box. So from the exterior of the building, it's something that would really show, but wouldn't really cast colors on the inside of the building. So all of those things are things that could be explored, as well as going down that wall to the right, down Meadow, leading people to what will be a community room. So those are some of the initial thoughts, but of course, as the design of the building evolves and once the artist joins the design team, they'll determine what opportunities make most sense. So if you have any questions here. So here we're going through the artistic criteria, and here are some of the samples of some of his previous work. This you may have seen in Sunnyvale. Powell Street BART station, so that's also a glass. And I think that's the final image we have for his work samples.
May I ask, does Mr. Galloway have any other pieces in our collection?
No, he does not.
I
We
didn't
haven't had the
recognize.
pleasure of working with him before, so he would be new.
That's exciting.
And he's from San Francisco, so sometimes it is really nice to have someone local who can come to the site more frequently, especially with a budget of about $100,000. It's not an extravagant budget to have someone fly back
Travel.
and forth frequently.
Exactly. Nice. I'm very excited about that. Thank you.
I'll just second that and say congrats to everybody on the panel. I think it was a good choice. Okay, so we're Ben, did you wanna, I don't know if anybody wants to say anything else or else?
I guess.
we need a motion? Mm-hmm,
Okay, I move that we, oh, do you have a question?
no microphone.
Oh.
Sorry. I move that we approve artist Stephen Galloway for the Fire Station 4 project.
I second.
Okay, we'll call Commissioner Shen,
Yes.
Commissioner Miyagi,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Waltuck,
Yes.
and Chair Taylor, yes. Okay, next, the Cal Ave District murals.
Well, this has occupied a little bit of our week. So I know when we first started talking about this in earnest at the retreat, it seems like, oh, we can totally do that. It's way down the road. And we're doing it. We're doing it one step at a time. So here you have a great example of one of the signature murals by Mohammed Suma in the Cal Ave district. As you may recall, At the last meeting, the commission approved funds for up to 3 locations for street murals. Currently, we have permission for 2 of those. And we have the artists to show you this evening, hopefully to get approval to move forward with them. Additionally, a new opportunity has emerged
Very good.
in the course of conversations about the future of California Avenue, both with community stakeholders, business owners, and the city. There's a lot of desires to pilot some projects, test things out that might make sense should the avenue remain closed to vehicular traffic on a more permanent basis. So there is this opportunity to create a street mural. We'll see how it lasts, see how it does with the farmers market and everything else. We just don't know. And so we reached out to a number of the artists who rated really highly with the panel, which took place on Monday. And we've identified a potential artist for that project as well. So with that, we'll walk you through.
Wait, sorry, I didn't understand. This is for the 3rd spot or the 4th spot?
The 3rd spot, we have 2 walls right now. So we have artists identified for those, and the ground plane mural, we're asking for an allocation of funds to fund that and the artist for that.
The 3rd one.
Not a
No.
wall mural, the ground plane mural.
Oh,
So
okay, sorry.
that will be the
Okay,
3rd one, but it's
okay.
not what we originally discussed.
Okay,
So I just
okay,
want to
alright.
make that
Okay,
distinction.
thank you.
So the design intent, I'm going to read through the slide, but just know that the artists, as with all of the temporary artwork we have commissioned through California Avenue, they're given the Cal Ave District Plan to use as their guiding principles for what kind of themes and artwork might be appropriate. Think about the site. One of the sites is on the site of Izzy's Bagels. We can't have a bagel on there. It would be considered signage. So anything that gets painted, of course, cannot qualify as signage under the sign code. And these murals are, of course, being commissioned on private property. And we're signing an agreement to maintain them for a period of 5 years, after which point the owners may decide to paint over it, apply to the public art program for a new mural, or they may take on the maintenance themselves.
What happens if there's transfer of ownership during that time?
That is a great question, and we're working on the contract with legal right now. I don't know, given that this is a pilot, we know not everything is going to go perfect. And the long-term ownership of each of those properties, it's not likely to happen, but we're discussing all of those things with legal and what needs to happen. So this was our stellar selection panel that we had on Monday. And Franco, unfortunately, was not able to participate. So Michael, his brother, was able to participate. Unfortunately, there was no pizza involved. It was all on Zoom. But a really great panel. Judy Lulus, you may recognize as the artist who has done all the pointillist portraits of scenes of Palo Alto, which are up at the construction fence around the public safety building. Jack Morton, former mayor, council member, longtime business owner along California Avenue, and avid Cal Ave lover, and was also very involved with our Cal Ave plan. Cynthia Brandball, who is a Coverly Artist Studio Program participant, and of course, Commissioner Shen was part of that panel. So we brought 27 artists to them, which makes it really tough. They were using this criteria. So really artistic excellence. We really want to make sure that these look great. This is a pilot. We're going to learn something from, we know we're not going to get it all right, but we really want to make sure that the artistic quality and caliber of the artist was really big and that they're going to have that wow factor. I mean, part of the point is that we're trying to enhance the entire avenue. We're not focused on one property or one building, but it's an enhancement for the whole corridor. And making sure their visual language is in alignment with what the Cal Ave plan spells out. So here are the 2 walls, right? As of now, we have approval for so Palo Alto Central, which is right down at the fountain. And that wall, you can see we had a temporary piece there by Harry Lederer. They really loved it. If anything, they said, we want bigger, we want more. The feedback that they gave when we approached them with this with this prospect was that they want something also really bright and bold that's going to be eye-catching, and signal to people coming through the tunnel or off the train that there are exciting things happening here. Izzy's Brooklyn Bagels, similar sort of brief. They love the nature theme, want something bright and vibrant. And it was really touching when we met with them to show them the finalist artists, to allow them to pick the, of three. They just talked about how much they loved the previous one, and how much every time people were waiting for their bagels, they all had their phones up and they were playing with the augmented reality or taking pictures in front of it. And so they thought it was really a great asset. So that feels good. We want to make sure we do right by them and get really great art on those walls.
Can I ask if in the contract or the brief, if there's any size, for instance, on the one near the train station, can they use the top to bottom, right to left expanse of that wall, or are there parameters that they're working within?
So we were budgeting for things that would be done on the ground, not looking at heavy equipment, lifts, things like that. So we budgeted out a certain, so you see the 10 by 26 for Palo Alto Central, that's what we drew the budget on. Now the artist may decide to expand and have more negative space, so it may flow more, not filling floor to top of the wall. Right. Okay. So the first artist that was selected, Nicole Ponsler. Really building the suspense.
We're all like drum roll.
And so Nicole Ponsler, the panel really felt that her work really exudes joy and that vibrant color, using nature, local flora and fauna as the inspiration. The panel also really likes that she uses negative space in such a great way. So here are some of the examples of her work, and that she would be assigned to the Palo Alto Commons site. So that's the larger wall that's right there off the fountain.
So this would be, her work would be an example of grand scale. So I'm just wondering, like, if the scale isn't that, that's really filling the space.
Right.
So if she's restricted, it's not going to have the same impact as these examples, right?
Well, we'll see how she does with filling the space. So, it was budgeted to be smaller, and we need to keep the kind of the risk management manageable for this first pilot. So we're not going on a giant scale at this point. And those larger walls are sort of inside their courtyard. So this is right, that wall is sort of what's accessible.
Okay.
I like the way you're thinking. I think we'll get there. So the second artist that was selected by the Izzy's site was Olivia Losi Unger from San Francisco. Goes by Orlu Arts. And here are some examples of her previous work. And this one, I think the panel really responded to a number of things. And this one, Olivia uses, of course, local flora and fauna also. But they really responded to the artist's ability to incorporate the real environment into the mural. So for instance, you look at the string lights, and then she incorporated string lights into the visuals, and also thinking about the music history of California Avenue, and that might be something to the artist might consider weaving in as well. But again, bright, vibrant colors. She also tends to do a lot of these pieces that sometimes have a very intricate background that's a little more graphic in style, and then this realism painted in the foreground. And then you may recognize this. She had done a piece that was at the public safety building, the day into night. So she is familiar with California Avenue and the brief, and this piece incorporated the local flora and fauna native to this area. So the nocturnal animals and the daytime animals. So that was the second site. This is the street plane site that we're working with the city manager's office and community stakeholders. So what happened was, after the first two artists were selected, we reached out to the other top ranked artists. Not all of them are going to be game for doing something on the ground plane. This is not going to be maintained for 5 years. This is really a testing ground. We need to see what happens with the farmers market, We need to see what the feedback from the community is, what works, what doesn't work. But the idea is that an artist would engage the community in helping paint something within that square. So it's a great way, and it take place at the same time as the other two murals. So it's a great way to bring attention and drive traffic to both ends of the avenue, since they're pretty far apart. And also really get the community engaged in more of these conversations about what kinds of activities do we want to take place there? How can the community take part in literally shaping what the look of CalAV is in the future? So is that all slide?
Wait, can I just ask,
Mhm.
for that slide, is that intersection between where the farmer's market goes down towards the bakery and and Cal Ave?
Yeah, so
that what that is?
it's on Ash. So if in in taking this photograph, Joni's is behind you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Go Mama was to your right,
there. Mhm.
right? And Son of Wolf Cobblery are across
That's right.
to the
Okay, got
left.
it. Yeah.
Um,
Where like when people are campaigning and things, it's that intersection, like for city council and
sometimes they're there. I think of them more often in front of the bank.
bank. Yeah, but they're also there. Yeah, okay. I just
So-
wanted to orient myself.
Right. And so it's also one of the approaches as people park in the CalAV garage, how people get to the avenue. So it is in the heart of the closed area, and also one of the main approaches from the garage. So with that, we reached out to the finalist artists. Paz de la Calzada was the artist that was the highest ranked, who responded, who was very interested, also has some experience painting on the ground plane. And so she takes her inspiration from nature, from botanicals, from herbs, thinking about healing, thinking about energy, thinking about flow, which I think is actually a really nice tie with the farmers market taking place there. And all of the restaurants. So here's a project you can see where she's done some painting on the Grand Plain. Again, that budget is probably not going to allow for filling the entire space, but maybe working with some negative space. This is a public art project she has in the works in Sacramento. That's it. So the ask this evening is for funds in the amount of $20,000 to fund Paz de Calzada in the ground plane, and to approve Olivia Lucy Unger and Nicole Ponsler as the two artists for the two wall sites.
Great, thank you. I'm very excited. I definitely see a theme of nature, and flora, fauna, so that's fun. I do have a quick question, actually, not related necessarily to the action item, but to what you said, Elise, about after 5 years, they can come back to the commission. So it'd be the same process that we would be covering again, kind of the budget of it, or are they gonna somehow maybe take initiative and say, oh, I'll drop $5,000 towards it or something?
We'll probably learn a thing or two in the next 5 years, so I don't want to commit us to anything at this point.
Sure. I was just curious, you
Yeah.
know, what the idea, okay, so it's kind of, it's a flow. New, great, I'm excited. So, anybody have any thoughts, comments, questions?
I have a comment. I think the two wall projects are going to be really interesting, especially the one down by the train station where you come out of the train station, you see that whatever colorful mural is going to be there. And I think the streetscape is really going to be interesting to see what kind of wear and tear that gets, if the farmers market people walking along that, and see what kind of attention it draws. So I think it's a good way to get something into the street and see the durability of that to go forward.
I have a question. So, murals, we understand that the expected duration for a wall mural is a certain number of years, and beyond that, we're not committed to maintaining it. And just piggybacking on what Chair Taylor was saying, for street murals, is there a different time span?
Absolutely. We know as something that's going to be on the street, and we do have the farmers market that takes place there, and there's going to be some wear and tear.
Yeah.
So how we're planning to couch it is this is not something we're going to maintain. We're doing this as a pilot, see how it weathers, see what the feedback is. And it may be like a good testing ground for doing something more durable later. Or do we have rotating sort of temporary projects? But the nature of it is the expected lifespan is 6 months, because in 6 months, the avenue may open to traffic again. So that's all we're committing to, but we're not committing to maintain it. We're not going to go out there and repaint it if, farmer's market tomatoes fall on it.
So question, because when we have to deaccession something, it's a rather painful process. So if this is commissioned under the mural policy, or is there a clearly stated set of conditions that says that we can point to and say in 6 months' time, we're going to keep this for 6 months. Something else happened, somebody drops something on the street, broke the street, whatever it is, and it's just cost prohibitive to repair it. We are sort of the commission and also the city is not on the hook for repainting it.
Absolutely. So it's very clear in the agreement that these are not coming into the collection. There will not be a deaccession process. They're considered long-term temporary. And so there are clauses in there that deal with if it is graffitied to a certain extent where staff is not, it's infeasible to repair it, we could paint over it or do something different, but it is not coming into the collection, none of them.
Now, also, in addition to the contract with the muralists and then also with the wall owners, in addition to those terms, in the communication to the public, when we are debuting these murals to the public, I think we should also make sure that the public understands that these are not part of the collection. Therefore, the undertaking for ongoing maintenance is going to be different.
Absolutely. We will have signage on that, making sure.
I have a question about, do we have any, you kind of mentioned this in your introduction, but do we have any insight as to whether there's the California Avenue is going to stay pedestrian only, or if they're opening up to traffic, or when those decisions or by whom it's going to be made? Do we know any of that?
Well, I wish I had the inside scoop. How it stands now is that council approved that the avenue remain closed to vehicular traffic through the end of 2023. So I think they are still vetting what happens beyond that time. So that's why we really can't commit to any longer than that period for the ground plane.
Are they getting any feedback? Like, are there factions of the community that saying we want it open or we want it closed? Is there conversations going on? Are we aware of that?
There are conversations taking place around that. I am not close enough in to really speak in public about my understanding of that. I'm really working on specific pieces pertaining to public art at this time.
May I ask how this opportunity came about, that the street, we were permitted to put art on the street?
Well, we've been in a lot of conversations with the city manager's office. I mean, think about the previous efforts that we've undertaken to do the barricade covers, to do the banners through both downtown and California Avenue. So public art has been part of that conversation, and the community has been very interested in, well, we want to have more public art and we want to have something really special here. It's a little challenging when Sunday everything has to move. So this is a way for us to show the community, okay, let's pilot this. Let's see what that looks like. Let's see what works and what doesn't work and try it. So we've been part of those conversations, but you can imagine within a city, there's lots of different circles.
Okay, thank you for that. And then it sounds as if it will be paint. I was thinking materials on the ground because of course we've had paint in front of this building for the Black Lives Matters mural. And then we also have crosswalks that are a different type of material. So the material will be chosen by the artist, or we know that it'll be paint?
We know that it will be paint. So the desire right now is to test this. So thermoplast is a much more expensive process and a much more permanent process. So again, this is a test, this is a pilot, and then we'll see what we learn and adjust accordingly.
Two questions. One is for these temporary projects we have in front of King Plaza. In terms of 20,000 budget, is it relative to one of those projects consideration is comparable? That's first question. Second question, in terms of material, is it something similar to going with the flow? And if so, what's the durability on that, the wear and tear on that?
Okay, so budgets are set by a lot of different metrics. So if we were to budget it out as we did the wall murals and expect an artist to fill all of the square footage in there, it would be a much more expensive project. For a pilot with a very limited lifespan, this was sort of the price point that staff felt comfortable with, where we could do this as a pilot and it's a temporary project. You're right, a lot of the projects on King Plaza have run that $10,000 to $20,000 mark. So that is in keeping with how we've spent money for other temporary projects. And the other question was about the crosswalks with the flow.
Yeah.
So that is more of a 10-year lifespan with that thermoplast. It's a very complicated and it's not hands-on. It's not a way to engage the community in that. So so this was an opportunity to engage the community in a way that really, they can get out there and paint. And we found out through a lot of our other projects and through the King Artist Residency that people really like to get creative. They don't mind getting a little dirty and picking up a paintbrush. So it's fun to have this opportunity to engage them in that and also have these conversations about, gathering more feedback about creativity on the avenue.
Can you
I
talk a
have
little
a
bit
qu-
more? Oh, sorry, Ben. Go ahead.
I have a question. Putting aside the political stuff that happened with Black Lives Matter mural, what was learned from that and the durability of the paint? I know after a while the avenue, University Avenue's opened up, and the street in front of Webster, I believe it is, was opened up, and cars could drive over that and stuff, and then eventually was paved over. But what, with the short time that it was there with no traffic on it and durability in that, what was learned from that?
That's a great question. The piece ended up being pretty durable, especially with, when it was just pedestrians on it. It did start to get a little bit dirty when cars were traveling on it. So I think, again, this is an opportunity to pilot this. I think the letters that put down a prime layer first definitely weathered far better than those that applied paint directly to the asphalt. And the other thing to consider is we don't know what's going to happen in 6 months. So should they decide in the designs that they want to have a dedicated bike lane down the middle, they're going to need to be able to remove it. So thermoplast or something that permanent is actually not something that city manager's office and others are interested in at this point, but we do want to pilot this.
And during farmers market, will booths be set up on top of that painting or not?
So that is a great question. That intersection, booths are not set up on top of it because you have seating. You've got Joni seating that is out that way, and then coming from the other direction is Son of Wolf. And we need to keep enough clearance in the middle for emergency vehicles. There are some trucks that will access from that ash entrance where they move one of them, so they will turn to go to one direction or the other of the avenue, but they do not have trucks and like food trucks and booths set there, which is part of the reason we identify this site.
Question, following up on your comment about the possibility that they may create a bike path. So would the city have the flexibility to say, keep part of the mural, but modify part of it for, let's say, a bike lane?
I think we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. There's nothing set yet. So I think there were discussions previously about, we should have a dedicated bike lane. And then there were other discussions about concerns about having a bike lane because then it encourages cyclists to go faster through there. So the point is, we don't know what's going to come in 6-9 months.
Right. And all I'm saying is, if during the period of time that we have this mural up, if for some reason we need to have the ability to modify it, cut it back somewhere somehow, I think you want to reserve that flexibility in the contract.
That's a great point. Thank you.
I have a quick question about the community engagement part. Are there any kind of thoughts about it, or is it just kind of when you get there, you get there to discuss it? Like, how is it gonna work in terms of the artist reaching out, or does she have ideas? Or I know it's just preliminaries, but like, are you as the art commission staff going to kind of facilitate that, or the artist is gonna take that, or it's a combination? But just curious for like also future projects, but like, I'm curious what's gonna.
So
what you're
yes,
thinking.
good question. Staff is always involved in that kind of outreach, especially since we're in touch with, the business groups and, and various stakeholders for that. So right now, our thinking is if we can get it scheduled at the right time that works for all three artists, to have sort of a meet and greet Zoom, meet the artist, this is what I do. Staff would do an introduction saying, here's the CalF plan. This is the overarching design brief that the artist will be given. But also it's an opportunity for the community to tell the artist what's special about California Avenue. What do you think about when you think of CalF? So that may also stimulate some thinking and get people excited about what's coming in June.
I have to say, as being in Wynwood during Art Basel, it's so fun with all the street artists painting at once because there's a real community. I mean, both people observing, but also the artists themselves doing their own, visiting other people, helping other people. Like it's such a collaborative community event. It's really wonderful. So I hope this has some of that energy.
It was interesting. One of the things, one of the artists that's recommended this evening, Nicole Ponsler, mentioned is that one of the things she really enjoys the most is talking to the public while she's painting. She doesn't mind taking the time out to do that. In fact, one of her slides has a couple of elderly folks who've set up chairs and are just watching her paint and talking to her as she's going. But she speaks to it as, when the community sees it taking shape and sees all the work that goes into it, they take ownership of it and it really becomes something that is not hers, but the community's.
Very nice.
So if nobody else has anything to say, I'll move to let me look at it here, to recommend to approve the approval of artists to create new temporary murals on Cal Ave this spring in the amount of up to $20,000.
Second,
Did I say that correctly?
Well, I
Or did
think
I
do
just
we
wanna-
want to,
I just want to clarify that it's $20,000 is for the additional for the street mural. So that would be Paz de la Calzada for the $20,000 commission on the street, and then approving Olivia Lucy Unger and Nicole Ponsler as the wall artists.
Okay, so I approve. I'll read the whole thing, just I approve the artists. I approve artists to create new temporary murals in the Cal Ave district this spring and additional funding in the amount of up to $20,000 for another California Avenue mural project. Does that count at all? Or should I say it different? Am I not? Do you want to give it a try, Lauren? Obviously, I
can-
can't do it.
I can try.
I'm not sure what I'm doing.
I move that we approve Nicole Ponsler, Liv Losi Unger, and Paz de la Casa as the artists for the temporary mural in the California Avenue district. And we also approve additional funding in the amount of $20,000 for another California mural project, which in this case happens to be the streetscape and will be painted by Paz de la Casa. Calzada. Does anyone second?
I second that
Second, yeah.
enthusiastically.
Thank you, Lauren. You wrote down all the names of the artists. See, I didn't do that, so, okay. Well, thank you. Let's see, so roll call, we have Commissioner Shen,
Yes.
Commissioner Miyagi,
yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Waltuck,
Yes.
and Chair Taylor, yes. So it's a team effort here.
I also appreciate that this the artists selected, and thank you to everyone who served on these two panels, are so appropriate because Nicole Ponsler and Olivia Lucy Unger have such detailed and rich colors that will be really well captured on a wall. And then Paz de la Calzada, I love how organic her shapes are, will be great for a streetscape. So I think that hats off to the panels for doing these selections.
Just one more observation. Recently there was the International Women's Day, and I think this is the month for celebrating women. And I just want to say that, certainly that was not the intent, but I think we have arrived at a panel of artists, um, you know, um, who are representatives of very strong women artists, and to be able to create a platform for them to showcase their artwork, I think is fulfills one of our missions to achieve diversity.
Okay, our last action item is the election of chair and vice chair.
Chair, I thought we were gonna go to
Is that what you meant? All the way at the end?
all the way at the end. I believe we were, okay.
Sorry. Okay, so we'll go to the non-action item of Public Art Commission priorities document.
Okay, so I do have to share with you, there's some good news on the document. I know last year it was a bit of a challenge because there are all these hidden formatting things. The clerks have banished the hidden formatting, so it really isn't a straightforward Word document that can be worked with quite easily, fingers crossed. So as you recall from last year, this is a document that the council has requested that each board and commission turn in for approval. It's due in May. And then it would go into their June agenda for their approval before they go on break for the summer. And so what we did last year, and there's a copy of last year's on here in the challenging formatting, you can see the new template looks the same, but does not have all the quirky hidden things in the back. And yes, it's
I'm a little confused because it says 2021, 2022, and then there's another page, 2023, 2023, and 2024. Are there two in here?
that's a good question. Okay, we may have just an old cover on it. But just to jog your memory, what we ended up doing last year was utilizing the working priorities, and here are this year's priorities that were decided on in our September retreat, which are the same. So what would need to happen is potentially identify this evening an ad hoc committee, which would be no more than 2 people, who could perhaps meet with staff and start talking about making a first draft of plugging projects and aligning them with some of these priorities. So in thinking, for instance, about the murals, preparation for the Murals Festival, which will have taken place just before this gets adopted, preparation for the upcoming CODA would certainly fall within this time. So the time frame we're looking at is kind of a little more than a year, since we turned ours in, I believe, April of last year. But that is essentially what we wanted to discuss this evening, was if there are 2 brave souls who want to take a first crack at this, or if you have specific ideas you want to discuss now about what fit within which priority. So that's up to you all.
Just so I understand the timing, you said the ad hoc committee and the commission would have a year to do this?
No,
No.
it's due this May.
That's what I thought. Okay, so,
But it covers what's been done in the past year
okay,
and what's upcoming.
okay.
Previously, I think, was it the vice chair? Because I know Lauren was involved in this. Previously, was it the chair and the vice chair that did this?
It was Ben and Lauren.
We've changed it
Ben
up
and
a
I
few
did it last year.
Got it,
Together.
okay. I mean, I would think that this is a function that's very close to the work of the chair and the vice chair. So, you know, I'm kind of thinking that maybe we do the election first and then we see what people's appetites for volunteering will be thereafter. How about that?
That's an interesting point. That is up to the chair if you want to make a motion to hold on this until after the elections take place. But yeah, I would call for a motion to do that since we're moving into items around multiple times.
Can I ask Ben if that's okay with him, or do I have to make a motion? Ben, is that okay with you? if
Oh, that's
that-
perfect. I think that's a good point. I think that's a good way to go.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm going to move the election of vice chair. I'm gonna move to switch the non-action item of public art commission priorities document after the action item of election of chair, vice chair. And then I need a second.
I say
Second,
Okay, and then roll call, Commissioner Shen,
yes.
Commissioner Miyagi,
yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Walczak,
Yes.
Chair Taylor. Sure. Yes. Okay. So election of officers.
Great. So you all have in your packet the protocol for election of the new chair and vice chair. So we start with the election for the chair.
Sounds good. So I'll just briefly tell you a few things that the chair does for the Art Commission. The first, as most of you know, is run the meetings, our monthly meetings. I also, alongside the vice chair, in this case, it's Vice Chair Walczak, meet with Elise once a month prior to our monthly meeting to go over the agenda and make sure that we're covering everything that needs to be covered. And then also a big part of the chair's responsibility is to be at city functions as a liaison, a non-staff liaison to city representatives, whether it's the city council, whether it's special projects. I've been invited to several relating to, Cal Ave, not Midtown, but various other activities going around. And I think those are the three, I would say, big things. And the first, just being a sounding board to all the other commissioners. So does anybody want to nominate somebody else or themselves, or? I'll open
I have a
to-
nomination. I have a nomination.
Great.
I nominate Lauren Gordon for chair.
Okay. Lauren, do we? Yes, Lauren. You want to accept the nomination, right? So she has, yes.
Thank you, Ben. That is very nice of you. Thank you. It was my intent to nominate Senior Shen for chair. So I will not accept the nomination for chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. I'm thrilled and I've learned so much from everybody on this panel. And Commission, I am thrilled and I look forward to having the opportunity to serve as the chair.
Okay, so you accept the nomination. And then is there anybody else? I know you have to ask if there's anybody else. Anybody else who's interested in nominating another chair or nominating themselves? Okay, so we're voting.
So you make a
Next.
nomination to close.
So I'll nominate to close the motion, or I'm making a motion to close the, sorry,
Number 6.
number 6. So many pieces to close nominations. Can I have a second?
A second.
Okay, and then we're gonna vote. So a roll call, Commissioner Shen.
You have a ballot.
Oh, votes verbally to close it out. But it says Commissioner
Oh, it
votes
says to
verbally
close.
to close the nominations.
Okay.
Right, do
I'm
we-
sorry, I jumped ahead.
It's good, it's confusing, trust me. Okay, so we're gonna do a quick roll call to verbally close the nominations. So Commissioner Shen,
Yes.
Commissioner Miyagi,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Walczak,
Yes.
and Chair Taylor, yes. Okay, so now we're gonna vote. Right,
So
okay,
yes, you have
okay.
paper ballots before you, and Commissioner Miyagi, if you want to text me your vote, that would be great.
And we just
Oh.
pass this to, oh, sorry, I'm live.
The votes are unanimous. Welcome, Chair Shen.
Thank you. I look forward to serving on the commission and working along with all the excellent commissioners.
Congrats, I guess you're gonna be working on the work plan. Okay, so next, Vice Chair, would you like to explain your duties?
Sure. So my main duty is to participate in the review of the agenda about a week ahead of the public meeting with Chair Taylor and Elise. And then I also stepped in once when Nia was not available to run this meeting. And otherwise serving on panels and things like all the rest of the commissioners. And it's been a pleasure.
Okay, we'll open up to nominations.
I would like to nominate Lauren. I think she's just an amazing commissioner, and also from time to time when she has served as vice chair, she has performed the duty beautifully. So I'd love to have her partnership in serving on the commission as the vice chair.
I will accept, thank you.
Okay, any other?
Any other nominations for vice chair?
I'm gonna nominate actually Lisa. Lauren, I know you've been a vice chair, so I know that you have experience. I know Lisa just did it for one term. I know you've done it for several, so it's one of those things I think she can grow a little bit more in having the opportunity, but whoever gets chosen, I'll be very pleased and proud. So it's really, this is a hard decision. I'll just say I think for me personally, just because so many of us, it's a small group and many of us have had opportunities. And so it's how do you spread the wealth? So
That's wonderful.
I do want to say that because of a personal hardship right now, that I would definitely be unable to do part of the ad hoc committee. So if that is something that we want the vice chair to do, I couldn't do it right now.
But are you accepting the nomination or not?
I would accept it unless that's a condition of that role. So that was a decision that was put off until after the election, but I know that I could not be part of that ad hoc committee. So if that was part of the role, then I could not accept the nomination. Well, I mean, either way is fine, but.
So should we do till we close? Let's see, let's close the floor, and a motion to close nominations for vice chair, and then we'll vote and then we can figure out the next steps. Okay, and then we're gonna again vote verbally to close the nominations. And can I have Commissioner Shen?
Yes. You need a
Commissioner-
second.
Oh, second, sorry.
Second.
Go ahead. Second,
I
thank you, Ben.
second.
Commissioner Shen,
Yes.
Commissioner Miyagi,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes,
and Vice Chair Walczak.
yes.
Okay, and so now we'll do our votes. Everybody has their little ballot slip.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Vice Chair. Gordon.
Thank you. I look forward to it. I really love this commission, as you guys know, and the five of us are a great team. So thank you.
Congrats. Okay, so next we'll go back to an, we don't have to close anything because we already seconded and voted, so we're good. Okay, so now you know what you're up to, all these regulations. Welcome. So next we have the non-action item of the work plan.
I look forward to working on this. I've done it in the past. So here we go.
Here we go again.
Okay.
I guess yep, ad hoc committee.
Okay, so the chair and the vice chair are assuming the ad hoc committee?
yeah.
Okay, so that's fantastic. So I guess we'll connect next week. And
We'll
discuss
connect
it.
next week for sure. We might as well get started on it.
Yep.
And then after they bring it back to the commission,
Yeah.
we'll all. Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Quick announcement under Commissioner questions, comments, and announcements. There is a temporary installation. This is just a general announcement on Stanford campus, which I have found kind of fun. There are 5, well, it's a little sad too. It's called Lost Birds, and there are 5 sculptures that have been placed all near the Arts District. So near Bing, Cantor, and Anderson. And you can find the map. I'd be happy to send it to the commissioners. And it's a pretty simple walk, but it's really well done. And it's only here for a year, so it will take flight in February of next year. Enjoy. And I would like to thank Chair Taylor and Vice Chair Waldeck for their service. It has been a delight. So thank you very much.
I second that. Thank you very much.
And I will just add one other thing. I won't be attending, I'm gonna say it out loud, but the April meeting, unless other people are unable to attend, that week is that day and the rest of the week is art market. And I work for an art consulting company that has a gallery that's gonna be there. But if you want to go, go and reach out to me if you want more information.
Great.
So,
It's in San Francisco.
yeah, for Easton.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Yes, adjourn.